And we are going to see one of the oldest cards in Magic, maybe this round, in Berserk.
It's from Alpha.
Yeah, it is an Alpha card being played by James Wray in his Infect deck. Both these players are 11-2, really playing to be able to draw into the top 8.
Potentially. There might be some stuff with
legal
13
qualifiers.
Or 12 wins in a draw, unsure. But all I know is if you lose, you probably won't make top 8.
That's certainly true.
So.
Jeremy Dezani gets things started off here with the traditional legacy greeting of fetch land into Deathrite Shaman.
Welcome to your legacy match. Here's Deathrite Shaman.
Now, interestingly, one of the things about like an Infect deck is you don't really have a lot of ways to interact with your opponent or your opponent's creatures. So a card like this is going to be able to survive.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman will stay on the battlefield. James Wray does have interaction, but it's just not creature removal. It's more in the, Daze, Force of Will. I like James' style, 3 Force of Will. It's a nice number because a lot of times it is does have diminishing returns for sure. A lot of times if you draw 2, you're pitching the first to the second.
So here we see Gitaxian Probe leads things off for James, knows that he's going to have a Force of Will from Jeremy Dezani that he needs to find his way around.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Oh, by the way, that might even be an Alpha Berserk in James's hand. It is certainly at the very least a beta. And this is not a deck James has put together at the last minute for this tournament. I can tell you that looking at these cards.
Oh, yeah.
This is a guy who, well, maybe.
Oh, come on. James, I'll give you a pass for Revised Tropical Island.
But clearly a deck he knows his way around here. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does now with this knowledge from the Probe. But he's going to start things off with a Glistener Elf.
So that's one of the few cards in James's deck that actually cares a lot about a Deathrite Shaman. Usually Deathrite Shaman is like kind of a mana creature. And Infect isn't a deck that really tries to stifle your stuff. It's trying to assemble things.
But James actually does play Stifle.
James has one Stifle. James has one copy of lots of cards. It's either a very carefully crafted deck or a random deck if you have one Ponder in it, which James does. He's decided that one Ponder is the correct number.
So Fatal Push is going to take out the Glistener Elf.
Mm-hmm.
James is like, all right, we were kind of expecting that. I probed, I knew. Now, what are the creatures? Blighted Agent, Glistener Elf, and that's kind of it?
Missed the most important one, which is Inkmoth Nexus.
Oh, there you go. So, hiding in the lands.
Mm-hmm. Inkmoth Nexus is probably one of the most important cards to the deck, so important that there are 2 copies of Crop Rotation to help find it. Crop Rotation can get a nice variety of singleton lands.
Including a Pendelhaven.
There's a Dryad Arbor, there's a Pendelhaven, there's even a single copy of Wasteland.
All right, double Deathrite Shaman now for Jeremy Dezani.
Deathrite Shaman getting in the red zone, the gray zone. It is.
So really, James is really looking to, with this kind of deck, just win in one big fell swoop.
Absolutely.
Just get one attack in, become immense, Berserk.
Yeah, I actually don't like Jeremy's play of Fatal pushing the Glistener Elf straight away. He has two Deathrite Shamans. He could just block it and try and do some pump spells, and fight over the Glistener Elf. Where with a card like Inkmoth Nexus, Jeremy doesn't have cleaning, although he has a Baleful Strix, but a Blighted Agent. He needs to use that Fatal Push to remove the Blighted Agent, or else he just has an unblocked creature.
All right, so here's a Ponder from Jeremy. He's playing more than one.
3.
Yeah. Okay. So between them, they have the full set. Awesome.
They, however, are not playing Team Constructed. They've got some other cards in common. Looks like Deathrite Shaman number 3, an option for Jeremy. With at least one land. He likes him enough to keep him and draws an Underground Sea.
Now, is this the place where Deathrite Shaman just looks the least interesting? I mean, against an Infect deck, it's...
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman is useful as a mana creature, but not necessarily super strong at being a clock. The game life mode doesn't do anything. If we go to James' turn, he gets to play a Noble Hierarch and chooses not to activate his Ink Moth Nexus. He really wants to save that for when he can get in one big attack. So Jeremy just uses his Death Rights, does some clock. James is down to 16, and the Ponder move him down to 14.
Wow. Yeah, just working away with the Shaman. But James just is going to be looking to find one window to just get everything through.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big actual advantages of Deathrite Shaman. You get to hold up a ton of mana if you have access to a bunch of Deathrite Shamans.
All right, here's going to be the Baleful Strix.
This is a really, really strong card in this matchup. Again, James doesn't have the ability to remove it, and it'll basically prevent an Inkmoth Nexus.
And remember, Jeremy, we saw from the first turn of the game, Jeremy is still sitting back on Force of Will.
Yep.
Which really is what he needs for one critical, become immense, Vines of the Vastwood, or maybe even a Berserk.
Yeah. And then on James's side, he's also like kind of building up, trying to sculpt his hand to get to that spot where he can fight that Force of Will. He can Force of Will himself. But yeah, I think James is in quite a bit of trouble. The Deathrite Shamans are trying to do their best to become immense. Cost more than 1 mana.
All right,
this is interesting.
Yeah, the Nexus is getting in there.
I'm be interested if there's anything that stops Death Touch from...
Well, we're going to start
he's going to try to trample over it.
Yeah, we're going to start with an Invigorate.
Jeremy, you may have 3 life. My Inkmoth Nexus would like to be a 6/6.
Ugh.
Oh, don't worry yet. We're just gonna trade right now. So that's fine.
Right, well, here's a Berserk.
Here's the problem card. Alpha.
Oh, that is an Alpha Berserk. Oh, don't be careful. Be careful with my cards there, Jeremy.
Jeremy, this Berserk is 25 years old. So
It's
Berserk.
older than multiple people who might be in the top 8 this weekend.
That is true. So Jeremy's going to Force of Will it.
Yeah,
so Jeremy's like, whoa, that'll kill me. Because Berserk doubles its power, gives trample. So James is trying to get a 12 power trampling Infector.
But James knew about that Force of Will. So
I highly doubt James doesn't have an answer. I would be shocked if this all went through. Either James has another Berserk, James has another counterspell. Wow. Yeah. Seems like a pretty big misstep from James, just knowing the Force of Will is there from turn 1 and then not having a response to it.
And once again, we see Deathrite Shaman doing its thing.
Chipping away.
You ever see a card like Snapcaster Mage in these Infect decks?
No, is there Snapcaster Mage?
No, I'm just saying, you ever see just Berserk or counter it, Snapcaster Mage, Berserk.
Oh, I see. Yeah, Berserk is a card that you don't want to actually play a ton of copies of, because you can't. 2 Berserks doesn't help you out very much.
Yeah.
Actually, you need one. James actually only has 2 copies.
All right, James is down to 9 here.
Yeah, we kind of did this waiting game, and these Deathrite Shamans.
He's actually just, as long as there's, and it looks like there are enough instants or sorceries, he's just dead next turn.
I only see 3. There's an Invigorate in James's graveyard, a Fatal Push and a Force of Will in Jeremy's graveyard. So there need to be a few more, but James is still in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Jeremy can help himself here, too.
Yeah, he could cast some cards. He could attack as well.
That's true, actually. He is right. He do 6. And then
attack for 3.
I am missing a card. I'm going to double check a third time. Triple check to make sure.
All right, James is looking for something. Can't quite figure out what here with his fetch land.
Yeah. My guess is he's looking for a card that was not in his deck.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. All right, well, we're going to see what's happening here. Is he looking for a Dryad Arbor?
I saw Tropical Islands in his deck, so my guess is he wants to find either a Dryad Arbor or one of his basic lands. He has a basic forest.
So we may have a situation
with
an illegal deck here, where if there's not a card that's in his deck that he's expecting to find in game 1, well, then there's going to be some sort of problem. Let's see if we can find out from the floor what's happening here. There you get a look at Jeremy and James. Like, neither player feels good about this.
Right.
So that's basically the perfect expression at this point.
Won the last game I played with it too.
And he just said that he had it in his deck for the previous game.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll see how this gets resolved.
Yeah. I think this is just going to end up with an illegal deck and a game loss.
Right, assuming we are accurate in our...
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw someone run off to the feature match area. We'll get us back a report here. We've got some information coming in over our Skype chat as well. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, the thing that came up in the chat was we have a deck problem. We're like, okay, buddy. Yeah. All right, thanks, buddy. We knew that.
Well, no, but in general, I think James was in a lot of trouble that game. Jeremy's a massive favorite.
Yeah.
James kind of did his thing, got Force of Willed, lost a lot of his offense.
And then lost his Dryad Arbor somewhere along the way. So here you see.
I assume that's a Dryad Arbor.
Yep. And so basically, the Dryad Arbor was supposed to. He didn't lose it.
Okay.
It's in his sideboard.
Oh, it's in his sideboard.
It is in his sideboard, and he's talking to the judges about it. Meanwhile, let's just talk to you about who else is in the feature match area this round. While these guys try to work that out, we have Miranda Keith playing against Denis Ulanov, and let's see if we can figure out what those decks are.
Yeah, Denis has I believe a Teamer Delver deck.
Oh, no. Hooting Mandrills.
Yeah, Hooting
Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into this.
That's not a combo, but I love both cards.
I'm into this deck. I like it. And then what's Miranda playing?
Has, I guess, best described, just a classic green-white. You see Maverick deck, so like Death and Taxes. It's mono-white. This is the green-white version.
So this would be Green and Taxes by our deck naming convention from earlier.
Sure, but it had,
But people called it Maverick on the Legacy scene.
Yeah, so Deathrite Shaman, Knight of the Reliquary, Green Sun Zenith is a really big draw to these style decks.
Okay. A little further down, we see Noah Walker playing Yuta Takahashi. We know that Noah's playing...
Noah's playing the 4-color Delver deck. And then Yuta's playing the 4-color Control deck that we've seen quite a bit of.
Okay.
Today, pretty sad. We saw Brian Brandwin play a very similar deck.
And then all the way down on the end, off camera for us.
At the end of the feature match table. Still a fine place to be.
Yeah. Shawn Tabrizi, who we interviewed earlier, had that great play with the Cabal therapy.
Yeah.
He sort of read his opponent's hesitation and saw that his opponent was probably holding Chalice of the Void and correctly named it.
Yeah, he's playing a Delver deck as well.
Yeah, and he's playing against Andrew's son,
who's got a really nice deck. First card I saw was Captain Lannery Storm.
Oh my gosh, this is like red tokens?
So no, this is a red prison deck.
Oh, very nice.
So this has picked up some amount of popularity on Magic
Online. I was fooled by the
Online.
first 3 cards making tokens.
Right. So there's Captain Lannery Storm, Goblin Rabblemaster, things like that. But like the main part of it is Chalice of the Void and Blood Moon.
Wow, that's a pretty sweet deck.
Yeah, it's actually picked up. It's quite popular in Magic Online. It's a pretty nice deck.
Okay, so while we see what happens there, there's talking to the judge and there's some other complications possibly coming up here. We're going to just check in on Game 2 here between Noah Walker and Yuta Takahashi. We mentioned it before, 4-color Delver versus 4-color Control. Takahashi is up a game. Noah Walker, 12-1, possibly even has a match to give here and still be in great shape to make top 8.
Mm-hmm.
We're just looking in here for a second. We're going to return to our main table as soon as they're done. We just don't want to sit there while the judges are debating someone's fate in a game. So, although his fate may have already been sealed. There's a young Pyromancer from Noah Walker.
And he's Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah, Gitaxian Probe. This game is not being...
I really appreciate the live look-in. As soon as you live look in, a Gitaxian Probe is cast. It's very helpful.
By the way, this is not sped up. Noah and Yuta are just playing super fast.
So, Fatal Push, Baleful Strix, 2 Ponders, a Pyroblast, a Deathrite Shaman, Partridge, and a Pear Tree.
A Pyromancer and an Elemental token.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I guess technically the Baleful Strix could be a Partridge.
Okay. I don't think we have any Pear Trees in Magic.
No.
At least not easy. not ones in Legacy.
Okay, so a game loss is the result of that match for James. It was looking like that was going to be the case anyway. And we'll get back over to them after they're done sideboarding.
It's a pretty expected outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So in this game...
Right, Fatal Push on Young Pyromancer. We're gonna see a Brainstorm in response from Noah Walker. It's like, we're gonna leave a little something behind here before this goes. Maybe I'll force a will.
You can kill my Young Pyromancer, but I want some Elemental tokens first. You saw Noah Walker last round basically just win the game off of 3 random Elementals created by, they just went back and forth, traded cards. All that happened was Noah Walker had a Young Pyromancer and had a counter war over his Young Pyromancer. Sure. He lost the counter war, but ended up with
he lost the counter battle, but he won the war.
Yeah, he won the war of a game of Magic.
Yeah, Noah's in great shape here for top 8.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now a Ponder for Takahashi. Oh, some really nice cards on top of his deck.
I think it's both the 4th land and a Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah, that's like let's keep all of these. All right, there's Lightning Bolt for the Shaman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that's been true about Noah is he's really aggressively gone after Deathrite Shamans. He wants to spend... He'll fight over him. He'll force of will him. Like, it is very important that...
I can't imagine coming into a Legacy tournament and not having a plan for, how and when you were going to deal with a Deathrite Shaman. Wow, Noah Walker really decimated Takahashi's board there.
Mm-hmm.
Wasteland to, send him back to the page. Deathrite Shaman.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Into Fatal Push. now Snapcaster Mage to Fatal Push for the Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So, one of the highlights of a Delver deck is Daze. And Yuta, I believe, has lands and just chose not to play one.
Oh, no.
Gets his card Dazed.
No, he did play land. He was down to 2 lands here.
Oh.
He got Wastelanded
okay.
Oh, yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, he's been trading for elemental tokens. I mean, that's and now a true name nemesis for Noah Walker.
I don't. Yuta has some diabolic edicts, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, he's gonna need more than that because Noah will gladly sacrifice Deathrite Shaman to Diabolic Edict. Does he have anything like a Marsh Casualties? Probably not something he would bring in here.
Just Toxic Deluge.
That's and then was the other card.
But that's not a card you generally want to side in against Delver decks.
Yeah, even with the Young Pyromancer.
Generally not. You might see one, but generally creature removal is not the battle to fight over.
All right, here's a Deathrite Shaman, but True Name Nemesis is on the clock.
Yeah.
Currently 5 turns for Takahashi, not counting
Deathrite
Shamans. Yeah, so really more like 3 turns.
Plural.
Yeah.
Because they go both directions. So Yuta looking to hopefully get a Culligan's command off. So he's willing to take 2 going to that. So he wants Yuta's going to after Noah's Deathrite Shaman activation happens. Yuta wants to get his Deathrite Shaman.
Oh, look at this! Yeah.
Activation, and then kill your Deathrite Shaman.
Oh man, we got a good old-fashioned counter war.
Yep.
Spell Blast, Pyroblast, and then a Daze on top for Noah Walker. All to keep his Deathrite Shaman alive, but really to protect his True Name Nemesis against the potential outcome of a Diabolic Edict.
Mm-hmm. And also, Deathrite Shaman actually represents quite a quick clock.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, Noah's had a lot of success with this deck because of Deathrite Shaman advantage. His Deathrite Shamans have been more effective. So
it looks like he's going to even this game up, even this matchup at 1 game apiece, barring some horrendous turn of events for him. Here's a Snapcaster Mage. Whoa.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep you updated on what's going on over here. We want to just check back in on Jeremy, Dezani, James Wray. Of course, Dezani up a game here, probably 2 different ways.
Yeah.
It was game loss given out for a main deck card being in the sideboard. And, and kudos to James for, not trying to play it off. Just said,
right, nope.
I screwed up.
This is what happened. And that's the best thing to do.
It's absolutely what you do every time. And Ponder from Jeremy, and then followed up by a Wasteland for James. There's always the waiting game. It's like, how much damage have I done with this Wasteland?
Mm-hmm.
How badly have I hurt you?
Generally play that, strategically on turn 1 Wasteland. Wasteland is at its absolute best when you have an advantage on the board. If you're ahead on turn 1 and you get to play turn 1 over again, you're going to be even farther ahead. But using Wasteland on turn 1 is sometimes a risk. You're basically only hoping that they don't have enough lands. And I only like to use Wasteland in the way that James did when I have a ton of lands, when I'm very flooded. And I want to, even out my draw.
Jeremy looking a little like he's got more than enough mana here, too.
I believe this Wasteland did not hinder Jeremy.
But James is going to need to... he does have a Nexus. So...
That's a start.
You got to start being on full alert here.
Yes.
If you're Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like...
It really only requires 2
James
cards.
can literally kill Jeremy on his next turn with the right set of cards. Berserk.
Invigorate Berserk is just insta-death.
Yep.
So is Become Immense and Berserk.
Invigorate.
Become Immense, Invigorate, yeah.
Any 2 of those is,
Vines of the Vastwood.
Mm-hmm. That can often substitute in. And so it's, very scary to play as Jeremy. Like, he needs to both get on the board and protect himself from this Inkmoth Nexus.
Yeah, he is holding multiple fatal pushes in hand, and
Yep.
now has found himself a Force of Will. By the way, I got to tell you, Force of Will seems excellent against this deck.
Absolutely. This is definitely one of the places where Force of Will is at its strongest when your opponent is trying to assemble very specific combinations. Even if they can do it multiple ways, taking out one of them. Like, you saw Jeremy basically win game 1 off of a well-timed Force of Will.
Or a poorly timed Berserk, however you want to
Yeah.
look at that.
Well,
I mean, there's also
the poorly timed Berserk is the one that doesn't resolve.
All right, Deathrite Shaman. A little late to the party.
It's on time.
He's like, I'm sorry, I was dominating some other game. Took me a while to get here.
Well, that's interesting. James, let's go back to these decks. I believe I saw a Submerge in James's hand.
Whoa.
It's quite it's a piece of interaction for a problematic blocker like Baleful Strix, but only if Jeremy has a forest, which he currently does not.
I'm thinking still.
Oh, is he going for it already? If he goes for it, I can't imagine a scenario where Jeremy's hand isn't strong enough.
With double Fatal Push
Double
and
Fatal
Force of
Push,
Will?
Fatal, Fluster Storm,
Oh my gosh.
Force of Will.
And he can also just attack here. He doesn't have to go for it.
Correct.
But he does.
Very expressive.
I want to see if I survive the turn. This is my only concern right now.
And if I'm Jeremy, I'll take 5 Infect.
Sure.
I'm not, because one of the things that can happen is like things like Vines of the Vastwood could potentially.
All right, she's going to daze.
So daze the Fatal Push. So in this instance, that actually works as a hard counter spell since all of Jeremy's cards cost 1 mana.
Right.
Right. This means Jeremy. Yeah, sure. Jeremy can pay for the day, but that means he doesn't get to play a second Fatal Push. And
His Deathrite Shaman is summoning sick. So that's not an outlet for him
right.
for mana.
And this is a really big incentive for James to go for it this turn. Jeremy only has 2 mana. The following turn, Jeremy has at least 4, probably 5 mana, which makes Daze really not effective.
All right, so now we're going to see Force of Will
Force of
on
Will
the
on the
Daze.
Daze.
Very specific there from Jeremy. Well, guess what? James has another Daze.
Yeah, does James? I still think James is short because if he, there's still the thing. Jeremy has a mana available,
Right.
so I think James would actually need an additional card.
Well, the
and
reality
I don't
is-
think he has one.
All right, James could also daze this. Jeremy could let the whole stack resolve and then
Fatal push it
just
again.
Fatal Push it
Yeah.
again.
And James is thinking about this where.
Or could also just take 5 infected.
Yeah. I think James was trying to think through this because I believe his only additional piece of interaction is yet another Daze.
Okay. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, but if James has something like Vines of the Vastwood here, that would be the pump spell. I can't tell if he does. I know he has some green cards.
Yeah, let's see what he must have. All right. So now you see he's showing off what mana he's floating, and he's going to cast Daze again. Dazing again the original Fatal Push,
This force is targeting my Daze, correct?
and not the Force of Will.
So they're kind of just kind of working out the stack. James is like, yo, what's everybody targeting? Force of Will targeting Daze. So this Daze, I believe, is targeting the original Fatal Push. Right, and that's kind of what they're.
And the
they're
Force of
pointing
Will
at.
is targeting the original
The
Daze.
first Daze. So
Now, did you seem surprised when the Force of Will targeted the days?
Not really. So Fatal Push is the big prize here. So the options are the days, which is targeting the Fatal Push, or the Invigorate. So the reason to target the days is if your Fatal Push resolves, the Ink Moth Nexus dies.
Right.
If you just Force of Will the Invigorate, the Ink Moth Nexus is still alive.
And still terrible things could happen to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, this is a good old-fashioned stack here.
Yeah, we've had 2 stacks.
Yeah, the likes of which we don't see that often these days.
Right. They happen a lot more often when spells are free. Believe it or not, like, I mean, there are 5 spells on the stack of a combined mana
Right.
spent 1. As much mana was spent to activate the Ink Moth Nexus to attack. That's all the spells on the stack. So that's what it takes to get a counter war.
Oh, look at this. Okay. We're just identifying which spells are like this. What is going on?
Yeah, I think this has been clear. I don't know what
Jeremy is just like getting a headache. He's like, I'm used to playing more like standard Magic where I play a spell,
Yeah,
you play a spell, and then they resolve, and we paid a lot of mana for them. And
Yeah, I don't
Let's
know
go.
Jeremy's legacy chops. I don't know. You know, obviously he's strong enough to win a standard Pro Tour.
yeah, he's definitely played some Legacy, and
Okay.
seen him at the Legacy GPs before. I'm not sure if he has a top 8 or not off the top of my head. But okay. So now we get a fetch land. And are we going to see a Stifle
No,
here?
you can't play that card.
Oh, he wanted to
He
submerge.
wanted to submerge. He might be able to play it now.
All right, well, now he can. So another free spell.
Just hoping to be able to use it to make Jeremy shuffle in the Deathrite Shaman. But couldn't do that quite yet.
So if
Flusterstorm, counter them all. That's basically, so Flusterstorm has Storm, so you can split the Storm between however many copies you want. You could spend, 2 of them on the, here we go. This is what was hurting Jeremy's brain.
yeah, he's right. So ultimately, Jeremy can choose to let the Fatal Push still resolve here.
Yeah.
He can copy. He can counter the Invigorate. He can counter the days, and then
Yeah.
counter them again. Put additional copies of Flusterstorm on those. Put 3 copies of Flusterstorm on your days.
So it needs to put, I guess, yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I think this all will work out in Jeremy's favor.
doesn't he need to put all the copies on the other days? Otherwise, the Fatal
No,
Push.
the Force of Will is countering the days without
Oh, that's
any
right.
dice on it.
Oh, okay, got it.
So this will still work. Not often you have to decide the best way to divide your Flusterstorm. Usually it's just like, oh, all the copies on whatever I care about. But Jeremy has crafted a stack here with Flusterstorm, just kind of decimates it in his.
Don't target your own
Okay.
Force at will. What are you doing?
Yeah, that would not work out well.
No, not the Force of will. I think that's just sitting there while he tries to figure out where he wants that to go.
That's accurate.
Now, what's he worried about here?
I honestly, I don't know. I think Jeremy's
All right.
overthinking this.
3 copies, not something he hasn't been accused of before.
How are they ordered out?
All right, so finally, 3 copies of Flusterstorm and Invigorate. Counter it. 3 copies on your days. Counter it. Should somehow that all get messed with, I still have this Force of Will on your Invigorate.
The Force of Will is targeting the days.
Oh,
without
I'm sorry.
any
The days,
counter.
you're right. There we go.
But I think this will work.
Now I think they're going to just
Is
play
ordering it?
I think they're going to play a casual game of Yahtzee now.
Okay. Jeremy has a large straight.
This is. I mean, is this just like, mugging for camera time?
I think so.
Which copies of Flusterstorm?
Yes. What is the order in which the stack resolves?
Okay. I mean, maybe James has something going on here.
You know what the final solution will be? Everything dies.
Yeah.
Put it all in the graveyard. James doesn't have anything.
Yeah, you're flush. Okay. Right. James still has one green in his pool. That's what that is indicating.
Of course.
All right. Well, I mean, James clearly has some.
Top down or
Top down or okay.
resolution based? Yeah. Okay. It's order resolution. Yep.
So
All right, these players are
it's the
working.
longest combat step with
Yeah.
one creature of all time.
All right, so Invigorate is countered.
Oh, progress? All
Progress,
right.
yes.
So this one's gonna resolve and safely move those off the stack because it's not gonna be any turn.
So it sounds like ultimately James is trying to keep his Nexus alive from that fatal push. Maybe
Yes.
that's what he's trying to work out. Can he submerge his own? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just going to submerge his
That's
Nexus.
quite painful. That saves it, but it puts on top of your library.
Right. You're basically casting a free, totally
Right.
lost on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Submerge says if an opponent controls a forest and you control an island, you may play Submerge without paying its mana cost. Put target creature on top of its owner's library.
Yeah, for those of you at home, that was way more complicated than it needed to
Yeah,
be.
oh yeah, absolutely. And James was just trying to figure out what he could do to keep an effect creature available to him. Now not only is he's going to take a turn and draw that, but then he has to actually draw the means to finish off his opponent.
Yeah, so Jeremy drew what is typically a really nice set of cards, Abrupt Decay and Force of Will. They don't really deal with the current situation at hand. Abrupt Decay can't target Inkmoth Nexus, Force of Will doesn't have a blue card to go with it. So Jeremy's going to shuffle him away.
If James somehow comes back to win this, I would be very impressed.
Me too. Especially given
Here's-
Thoughtseize.
Yeah, here's a Thoughtseize. Let's see what is left in your hand after all of this.
I believe just a Become Immense.
Wow.
But no longer a Become Immense. So
Full set of Trops,
that's not nothing.
Trip Trops with one in play. All right, there's the Nexus. Yeah, he says, let's get rid of that Invigorate. In case you're playing Snapcaster Mage like Crazy Brian suggested.
So yeah, Jeremy has 2 fatal pushes now. Like he already started this a whole threat ahead.
All right, well, there's Noble Hierarch. And activate, and yeah, I'm just going to push this. I know it's going to die. Go to your Submerge, start working on your life total.
Even Jeremy doesn't have all that much. He only has a fatal push. But that's one more fatal,
Oh,
James
well, there's
needs
another
2.
Nexus.
Right, so that's the first one. That'll trade for the fatal push in Jeremy's hand.
Yeah.
Then James needs another threat before Jeremy.
Or a Bladed Agent would be, fine
Yeah.
for him.
There are a lot of good draws for him, for sure.
All right, I'm going to try to get in for 2 here.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I've got the Snapcaster Mage, says Jeremy Dezani. Fatal push out of the graveyard. I still have a fatal push in hand. And I'm going to just continue to ping away with Deathrite Shaman.
And now Snapcaster Mage is joining. So we've seen this before, you know, the ragtag crew of Snapcaster Mage, Deathrite Shaman. You grind out all their removal. You're left with a little extra stuff.
All right, here's a Glistener Elf. And getting that graveyard really is huge against this Infect deck too, because they do rely on the Delve for Become Immense.
Absolutely.
To have enough to be able to deploy as many spells as possible all at once. James is quickly down to 7 life here.
No.
Oh, this has just gotten terrible. Liliana, the last hope. That's going to take out the Glistener Elf while ticking up 1 loyalty. Still enough. Still some instants and sorceries for the Deathrite Shaman to feast on. 4 traps in play. Oh yeah, more than enough.
Yeah.
More than enough in Jeremy's yard to finish this game out.
Yep, that should do it. James might have a pump spell to try and last switcher, but I think it's just a berserk. It's not actually going to stop.
Yeah, kill the Noble Hierarch.
Attack.
And that's the game. Jeremy Dezani goes to 12-2 and looking to be in excellent shape to make this top 8. May be able to draw next turn. We don't know how the tiebreakers look.
May not be able to draw.
But not in the top 8, which is what James is looking at right now. So
yeah, James is going to play the last round for some cash and some
yeah,
pro points.
cash, pro points, yeah.
And a respectable finish at a Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great job by him. So Jeremy Dezani, 12-2, and again, this whatever combination people seem to be playing of these 4-color decks,
right?
You know, this alliance, this Skyship Weatherlight filled with Deathrite Shaman, Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, I think it's if you play Snapcaster Mage, or if you play Brainstorm and you play Deathrite Shaman, you're in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, certainly been the hallmarks of this tournament. We'll see how things shape up in the last round. We got a little more Magic action to show you this round, though. We're going to bring that to you right after these commercial messages. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix Seattle. Brian David Marshall alongside Adam Prozac. We've got some more magic to show you. Let's head down to the floor for some time walk action between Miranda Keith and Denis Ulanov. All right, here we are in game one, and this is Miranda Keith. She's playing Maverick, and this is essentially green and taxes, if you will, follow the naming convention earlier in the tournament. Death and taxes deck, but it's running green cards instead of red cards, including Deathrite Shaman, the commissioner of Legacy.
Absolutely. And, Denis knows this, so get out of there. Here's a Lightning Bolt. He's playing a Delver variant, but he is not playing Deathrite Shaman.
Oh, interesting. Even though it's Teamer, even though he has access to green. Yep. All right, there we see a Wasteland take out, I think that was a Wasteland, right?
Yep. Wasteland takes out the Volcanic Island and
Volcanic.
Deathrite Shaman replacement. So Denis has opted for a Nimble Mongoose.
There's a Gaia's Cradle in hand from Miranda Keith. I like her deck a lot.
Yeah.
Just on the basis of that one card. Denis Ulanov actually also playing one of my favorite Magic cards of all time. He's playing Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah.
But he's also playing a Delve card in Hooting Mandrills. And when we were asking about why you might do that, Rashad suggested because sometimes, and that was, but people who play this deck, so this is not unusual. Here we see a Spell Snare on Gaddock.
That's a choice I haven't seen a lot of. Like, makes sense there.
There we see Denis has drawn a Force of Will.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to have much in the way of action. He just has a bunch of counter spells and then the Hooting Mandrills. But yeah, hard to get a full graveyard through Deathrite Shamans.
Both of these players sitting at 11-2, as you can see. And here is an offered Mother of Runes. How do we feel about that? Is that worth a Force of Will, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a lot of ways Denis could get it off the board once it becomes active. And he doesn't have, a Lightning Bolt or Dismember or something like that. Otherwise, so I think he just has to Force of Will it.
All right, he is going to Force of Will. Now he has to decide which blue card he wants to discard. He's got to predict, or maybe a portent. But he's going to pitch the Stifle here.
Yeah, it's a predict. I think we might see an end-stepped predict just to fill the graveyard.
I like it.
Put 2 cards in his own graveyard. He could, randomly pick, whatever card he has 4 of and draw an extra card.
Here's a Wasteland for Ulanov, which can deal with that Cradle, depending on how scared you are of it at this point.
Yeah, I think getting a Cradle is better than hitting, say, the Savannah or the Caracas. Deathrite Shaman makes it have 1 mana, and you're not getting rid of the Deathrite Shaman anytime soon.
See a pair of swords in hand. And not going to be a ton of targets, it looks like, for Denis from Denis's deck.
There's Delvers.
But True Name Nemesis.
The Hooting Mandrills.
And Hooting Mandrills. Okay.
So it may not be the most likely, the best card in Miranda's deck, but she do, and it's game 1, so hopefully we can put them to use.
All right. Sounds like we might get a predict going here.
Or I think the Hooting Mandrills might.
Is this not the end of her turn?
That predict is a fun of. I can appreciate a one-off predict.
So you name a card, then put the top card of target player's library into her graveyard. If that, he is going to play. It's his turn. I'm sorry, I missed the changeover of turns. Hooting Mandrills comes down, and it is going to draw. First, Miranda's going to gain some life with the Deathrite Shaman.
Oh, here's Knight of the Reliquary.
And Swords is going to clear the way.
think, yeah, hopefully an attack from Deathrite Shaman. Maybe gaining 2 life at end of turn.
It's kind of one's better than the other.
Well, yeah, gain 2 or lose 1.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's close.
All right, so now that gets activated, and then we see a Dismember targeting the Deathrite Shaman.
So that could prove to be costly for Denis if/when Miranda draws a land. Knight of the Reliquary.
Like now.
So if Knight of the Reliquary comes down, that is a huge threat. I don't think... So I think Denis only has 1 removal spell that is good against Knight of the Reliquary, and it's in his graveyard.
Oh, no.
So I think this Knight of the Reliquary is just going to run away with the
game.
game.
And of course, in true ironic fashion, he had drawn a Fork Bolt after the Dismember.
Of course.
So he could have Fork Bolted.
Yeah. So here's Thalia, Garden of Thraben.
You might want to potentially respond to this if you're thinking about your predict, but that's a Wasteland.
Yeah, wow. He's really hoping to set that one up for the long game. I would have cycled that one a long time ago. Now the age-old Knight of the Reliquary question. To attack for a lot or to tutor for any land?
Oh, is that...
Oh, yeah.
When that lands another Wasteland, I think we know what we want to do here.
I think this was an easy decision this time.
Ulanov has nothing.
Huge Knight of the Reliquary. Yeah. Miranda is going to safely win this one.
Yeah, and now it is time for the Knight of the Reliquary to attack.
Mm-hmm. Knight of the Reliquary is a nice card for this weekend. You know, in a world without a lot of abrupt decays.
Wow.
It'd be a pretty potent card.
And Denis just scoops there, Didn't have anything for the next turn and was just going to be dead on the next attack. All right. So Miranda gets started with a Forest. It's much more modest than the Polluted Delta.
Yeah, wow, that's... I may not be reading that right. Is that a Mother of Runes that Miranda chose not to cast? Oh, it's a Swords to Plowshares. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, Mother of Runes, you can't get into play fast enough, right?
Yeah, it's like my world wasn't making sense. So this is kind of like just like a throwback Legacy match. Back when I played a lot of Legacy, these were 2 of the popular decks. Pre-Deathrite Shaman.
Right. Maverick and Canadian Threshold, it was called.
Yeah. And Nimble Mongoose was, a huge card.
And there is Delver of Secrets. You see Denis reaching into his box to pull out the corresponding card to the checklist card. You see a Maze. Is that a Maze of Ith?
It is a Maze of Ith. Yeah, Miranda has a lot of options here.
Sweet card.
There's a Thalia.
I love the toolbox elements you get out of a Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
All right, so Delver of Secrets turns into Insectile Aberration without the aid of a Brainstorm even, but now the next one maybe perhaps even a little easier.
Yeah.
In 4/3.
Playing a Wasteland. Be interested in what Miranda's trying to get together. So playing a Wasteland instead of one of the fetch lands, or now she has access to white mana. See if she wants to play like something like a Thalia.
She also has a Knight of the Reliquary in hand.
Mm-hmm. Also, nice piece of spice, Ramanap Excavator.
Ooh.
Get those wastelands back. That's
yeah.
And if you ever wanted to Green Sun Zenith for your Crucible of Worlds, here's Ramanap Excavator.
Have we seen people doing that in Legacy?
Not too much.
Man.
I don't know. That'd be great if it was happening.
All right, Swords to Plowshares is going to target the Insectile Aberration here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Denis has a brainstorm on the stack.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Miranda's like, well, I don't want you to know what you're working with until I play the swords.
All right, another Delver.
Yep. I actually like waiting till you put the cards back in, specifically waiting till the shuffle. Just because, Denis doesn't know what you have, so maybe he might shuffle back the second Delver of Secrets in this case. But now that he knows he needs a replacement.
Right, and there it is.
And hopefully no land. No land from Denis.
Yeah, he might have otherwise been tempted to shuffle and look for one.
Right. I would, if I'm Miranda, I'd definitely want to see a Wasteland activation here.
All right, here's Thalia.
Just really, really make it difficult for Denis to play. Fire off that Wasteland.
And here's a Maze of Ith. Okay, well, Sectal Aberration's going to flip, but it's got a maze to navigate here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot. When your opponent has a Maze of Ith at the ready and you only have one creature, do you attack?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've got to see if people. Magic's such a complex game. There's so many things going on. People just forget things. They miss mechanical things. Let me see. It sounds like we might be getting ready for the next round, which is the last round before the top 8. I can tell you that Miranda Keith wins this match, and she, like Jeremy Dezani, is in great shape to, at very least, win their way into the top 8
have
in this
the
last
opportunity
round.
at least win their way in, maybe even better.
Absolutely. So Maverick, still alive for your
Nice.
old school heart.
Yeah. One of those decks is
absolutely.
going to be alive.
We've got some commercials here, and then we'll be back with the last round of the Swiss as we make our way to the top 8 here at Grand Prix Seattle.